Final episode of Succession is out, and with it we arrive at the end of this story. End of Logan's lies, Shiv's manipulations, Connor's delusions, and Roman's antics. But does Kendall come up on top, finally, for once in his life? Does he become the heir to the throne of Waystar Royco and prove to his dead father, the board, and himself that he has what it takes to be the one? Kendall from the beginning was the self-proclaimed heir apparent of the story, simultaneously groomed and constantly rejected by his father. The dance of will he, won't he started with the first hour of Succession and continued until the finale. By that point, the writers perfected the device of giving us a glimpse of hope for his triumph to then violently rip it away. It shouldn't come as a surprise to us, given what we know about Kendall by now, but that hope was still somewhere in me while watching the finale. But as always, Succession isn't about happy endings and worthy heroes. It's about deeply broken people, narcissists fighting for power, stabbing each other in the back, and ending in tragic and bitter circumstances. Kendall was always conditioned to be the powerful, narcissistic, and grandiose individual, but because of his father's contempt and disregard, he became vulnerable, resentful, and anxiously attached to every member of his family. Even though he knows their true nature, time and time again, he allows himself to be broken by their neglect and scorn. He is consumed with worthiness and earning his father's approval, while going to war with him and proclaiming himself better than Logan, more human, more socially equipped to carry the company into the modern landscape. But of course, this is idealized version of himself that doesn't exist. It exists only in his mind. In truth, he is extremely socially unskilled, cosplaying as a hip, youthful visionary that in reality lacks truly innovative ideas. He desperately wants to belong anywhere, whether it be in the boardroom or a hip rave party. He's like a chameleon that lacks true identity. Tell me who you want me to be, who you need me to be, and I'll become it for a day for you. After the accident in season 1, he entrenches himself in victim narrative and relinquishes all power to Logan. He only breaks that narrative when he sees an opening to take Logan down. Of course, he only does it with the perception that he's the avenging messiah, the one who's better than Logan, more worthy of their empire. He uses drugs to soothe himself and to cope because he can't regulate his emotions by himself. He even says it to Logan during their sit-down that he doesn't want to be like him. But both his father and the audience knows that this is a lie. Kendall is desperate to be the new Logan Roy, and he wants to be the only heir. He becomes haunted by the underlined supposed will with his name on it. He convinces himself that this is finally his father's validation. And from this point out, we see Kendall finally step into a real player in the game. He rallies his troops, blackmails Hugo, hires Logan's driver, wins over Roman by pretending that they could do it together, and he becomes more of a leader than he ever was before. His speech at the funeral gives us goosebumps. We get hopeful again, and we think, maybe, just maybe, Kendall can still pull this off. But his speech is the only shining light in the darkness. He gets hysterical when his family doesn't want to attend the funeral, and when Jess wants to quit, because he's second-guessing himself all the time. He isn't a confident force of a man that Logan was, and he's threatened by both Roman and Shiv. The rivalry between the siblings is what sets up the finale. Roman wants all of them to implode by that point. If he doesn't get it, no one should. He even reiterates their father's words, "You're not serious people," with "we're all bullshit." He finally gets it, and in the poignant mirror scene, he can't even look at himself and at the person he's become. With Shiv, it is more difficult to accept defeat. Remember, she is a great manipulator. And with her, just like with Logan in the past, a yes is never a definitive yes. She will always break your trust to serve herself. In the scene, Meal Fit for a King, we get that moment of affection and real joy between them. They are so happy that we can't help but anticipate the tragedy that will occur at the end. And while the siblings attempt a coronation of sorts for Kendall, I, on the other hand, couldn't help to make comparisons to the Hunchback of Notre Dame and coronation of King of Fools. It's almost a mockery of the faith in Kendall as a true leader. Cruel joke that ends with Shiv going back on her word. Not because she wants to save Kendall, or as she frames it, she doesn't know if he has what it takes, but because while Tom's betrayal hurt, letting Kendall win over her is unbearable. She makes a mental calculation and decides on the spot that she can live with Tom being the figurehead that she still will have access to, but she can't stomach Kendall surpassing her. In that, she places herself in the non-defeat and non-win situation, while at the same time destroying her brother. Kendall loses, but I would argue that not because of Shiv, but because of his own inadequacy. There is a moment between three siblings when Shiv and Roman could have been swayed and put back on the right track, provided that Kendall was as skillful at manipulation and diplomacy as Logan was. But because he isn't, he defaults into his coping mechanisms. He panics and plays a victim. He blurts out that he deserves it. He is the eldest boy and lies about the accident and loses them completely. And by extension, loses the company and his life, really. It is amazing that whenever Kendall is forced into his deep, darkest emotions, we always get a shot of him near a body of water. His accident, his suicide attempt, his decision to fight for the company earlier this season, and his defeat. We start with the sunrise over the ocean and we end with the sunset to mark the end of Kendall's life. He doesn't jump into the water, but for me, the message is clear. This is a defeat he will never recover from. Tom goes from an underdog and sycophant to the top. So really, the heir apparent becomes the fool, and the fool becomes the king. Succession is finally done. We're finally at the end of this story. I liked the finale. I think it was amazing. It was very bittersweet. It was exactly what I was expecting, but also it surprised me in all the right moments. Oh, Kendall. We're always hoping that he will be able to lift himself up to this leader position. But at the end of the day, he's just not built for it. With Shiv, probably you've seen my video. If you haven't, check it out. I knew Matheson was gonna double cross her. He didn't have any respect for her. I was surprised by him choosing Tom, but Tom makes sense. I sort of forgot about Tom for a while, but the choice of Tom makes sense because at the end of the day, CEO for Matheson is a figurehead, a puppet he can pull the strings to. So Tom is perfect for that role, to be the real CEO, to be the real successor. But that's an interesting thing about the title and the intro, because Succession was a show about next generation taking over. The notion of legacy and squandered hopes and potential, entitlement, narcissism, all of those things. But in the end, last season was for me also about parenthood, about how bad parents are inequipped to create the next generation that is better than them. You know, it's interesting that Shiv is pregnant. Tom is the CEO. They are still in this weird sadomasochistic marriage, and they're gonna probably stay in it. They're probably not gonna get divorced. A child on the way who is like the next generation after her. So succession of the Roys is still in play, and Roman makes a case for Kendall's legacy not being legitimate. So I thought that was interesting. That was like a little hint that, you know, the Roy family and the Roy leadership are gonna continue through Tom and Shiv. I even read someone on Twitter posted a scene from like a season 2 or season 3. I don't exactly remember when it was, but Logan was like, they were all at the table and Logan was talking to Tom like, when are you gonna give me grandkids, or are you shooting blanks or something like that. It felt kind of interesting to me. Did Logan know that Kendall's kids are not really his? Really putting all of his hopes in Shiv and Tom being together and being able to produce the next heir, basically. Succession is still in play. It's just through different sibling than we thought it was gonna be. What did you guys think about this finale? Were you satisfied? I was, even though it was bittersweet. What are you watching next? This is my question. I ask myself this daily because right now I'm really dissatisfied with majority of things coming out of Hollywood. I'm gonna probably watch or try watching The Idol, at least episode 1, and break it down for you. Is it really as bad as we think it is? Is it really just a sick pornographic fantasy? Or is there something there that we could dissect and analyze? I mean, I'm curious, so I'm gonna see at least one episode. If you're interested, that video is gonna come out next week. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do and help me grow this channel, and I'll see you later.